All right, welcome to Court Vision. Your home for NBA gambling, everything involved, fantasy, win totals, champions, games, every single thing you can think of. We are Mike and Mike.
Oh,
We did our first video ever. Was the Eastern Conference preview for the NBA. Today is still Monday the 21st for another hour and like another four beers.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we weren't sure that we were gonna do both conferences today, but we're gonna do it. I mean, the season starts tomorrow, so we
yeah,
kind of have to.
we're gonna
So that's why we're wearing,
pound it out.
because that's why we're wearing the same clothes, because it's the same day. It's
Yeah, we're super hygienic and shit. We like change our
yeah,
clothes all the time.
yeah.
We're fucking sweet like that. Um, I mean, we're pretty clean. I don't know. I mean, that sounds like such a ridiculous notion that we would change our clothes here and there. We're pretty hygienic. I'm like so close to the table right now. Okay,
Yeah,
give
lean
myself a little
back,
breathing room.
lean back.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna start off with the Denver Nuggets and go through the entire Western Conference, same as we went through the Eastern Conference. And then tomorrow, our plan is to actually break down some games, fantasy lineups, plays we like, etc. So Denver Nuggets over under 44.5. Championship odds are plus 2,000.
So they went 46-27 last year. They added R.J. Hampton, who we both love. It was a little bit later of a pick. I think he's going to be really, really good.
He got
Um,
kind of tagged because he was one of those guys that went to the foreign leagues
right, right,
instead of college.
right.
Whatever.
I mean, like a lot of those guys, like college didn't
Yeah,
even really play. Like
yeah.
they
Who
played like
cares?
yeah,
Yeah, make your money. Go get
yeah,
it. Scouts, don't be so fucking lazy. Watch the foreign leagues.
yeah, exactly. Uh, so you added R.J. Hampton, Jermichael Green, and Isaiah Hartenstein. You lost Miles Plumlee, Torrey Craig, T.J. Daniels. Ooh, T.J. Daniels. I forgot I read that.
Isaiah Hartenstein is also a Jew.
Yeah, he is. He is of Israelism descent. Uh,
Jeremy Grit,
Jeremy Grant.
not a Jew.
So you think Kylo Quinn was a Jew?
That's true.
Kylo Quinn was fucking cool as shit. Uh, so you lost Miles Plumlee, Torrey Craig, Troy Daniels, Jeremy Grant, Noah Vonleh, and Keelan Bates Job,
Yeah, some shit like that.
Keelan, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
Kada,
yeah,
Kada Bates job, I think.
something like that. So when you really break it down, like you had okay, so you lost Plumlee and Vonleh down low, and you added Jermichael Green and Hartenstein. So I don't know, like both of those guys have been more important than Vonleh recently, I think. But then Plumlee was more important than those two guys, so it's kind of a wash. I would slightly downgrade maybe.
I don't even know if Hartenstein's like really played.
Well, maybe that was the year before that he played.
He
He
played
was
like a
playing a bit.
few random games or whatever, and he
Yeah,
did fine.
yeah. Um,
And Michael Green's
he
whatever.
brought right. He brought in R.J. Hampton. If he turns out to what we think he's going to be, it's going to take a few years. But that's I don't think
But
that's
even
going to
at
be a
that, like
make and break
point
this
guard's
year.
one of your more set positions. You got
Right,
Jamal Murray's one of the best in the league, and then Monte Morris you just signed to a big deal, and
right.
he's a great backup point guard. He's one of the best turnover to assist ratios in the
Yeah,
league.
he
So
is. Uh, and you lost Torrey Craig, which like I'm okay with losing Torrey Craig. That's fine. Like you got guys that could fill in, but not when you lose Jeremy Grant
Jeremy
too.
Grant's a big
That's a big
loss.
loss. It's a big loss, and especially when you don't know that Will Barton's going to be. You don't know that Will Barton's going to be back to what he was. Paul Millsap's like 60 years old. Although Paul Millsap's played really, really good in the
So
preseason.
stoked on the
Yeah,
preseason.
he is. So your projected lineup here is Jokic, Millsap, Barton, Harrison, Murray. Kind of the same old there. Uh,
I don't like that Michael Porter is not in the starting
I
lineup.
don't either. I don't either. Like you gotta. I don't know. He's your future. You got to start going with it. Like there's a big thing, especially on a team like this. Like the Nuggets are considered like a contender, but you can be a contender and have young guys that you need to develop that are still starting or rotational.
Even
You
the
know,
Celtics do it.
right. So, like, you don't need Paul Millsap to be starting. Paul Millsap would be more valuable on your bench
Right.
because you got Jokic for your rebounds and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. I wish Michael Porter Jr. was
And you
starting.
would get a lot more looks with playing with Murray and Jokic, as much as he can.
Right, because now especially that you've kind of depleted the bench a little bit, now you're going to have Porter rolling out there with pretty much some scrubs.
Monte Morris.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden they're doubling Porter and shit, and like I don't know. I don't like that for his development at all. And
No.
and the flashes that he showed last year, he looked like he was going to be what he looked like he was going to be in college was just unbelievable. In high school, and so yeah, I don't like that. Their starting lineup, their starting lineup's mostly unchanged. What do you? I don't know. Anything else about this team?
I think it's a step back year. I don't buy him as a legitimate contender. I have him coming in under the 44.5. I have him at 41 and 31. I just think you lost. I mean, I don't like Torrey Craig that much, but I understand his importance as a player.
Yeah.
And I don't like Plumlee at all, but I understand his importance as a player. And losing Jeremy Grant, you did nothing to make up for that.
No.
While getting Will Barton back is going to help, like we said, I think you're stunting Porter's growth. I don't think he's going to be all that effective coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't buy him as a legitimate contender. I think they got lucky last year to get by the Jazz and then get by the Clippers.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be the case this year, and I don't think they're a legitimate team.
Yeah. So the over under is 44.5. I'm at 44. I have 44 and 28.
I have 41 and 30.
Right. So I have a slight under. You have a couple games under.
Not a ton of confidence, but
right. I mean, they could. It's just I don't know. I really wish this team I don't necessarily think they need to make a lot of moves. I think they just needed to do two things. I think the first thing they needed to do was determine, okay, Michael Porter's in the starting lineup. He's in the starting lineup. He's going to play 30 minutes a game or whatever it is, and he's a part of our team. I mean, that helps your chemistry with him moving forward. It helps his confidence. It helps develop him. And the other thing I wish they would have done a better job replacing Jeremy Grant, especially when you lost Torrey Craig.
Or just keeping Jeremy Grant.
So, I mean, that's a big piece to lose.
I mean, the dude played 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
Christ.
Yeah.
It's a big loss. So next up, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves over under 28.5.
So they went 19 and 45 last year. Obviously, you brought in Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels in the draft, which was a very good pick. Ricky Rubio, Ed Davis, and Rondé Hollis Jefferson. What did we used to say? Here he is. Hollis Jefferson.
I don't know. We called him a princess.
Yeah.
I don't really know
We
why.
like him, too. I just
really think he needs a lot of attention.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know why.
Yeah. So they lost. Who's Jay Johnson? They lost
James Johnson.
James Johnson.
Still in the league.
James Johnson's a lunatic. He's like super MMA trained and some crazy backyard fighter and shit.
They lost Alan Crabb.
I wrote that down. And they lost Keelan Martin. So none of those were big losses at all. But I mean, from a team that was 19 and 45 last year, you know what I mean? So your starting lineup projected is Cat at the center. Jake Layman is projected to start at the 4, and Josh Okogie at the 3.
Jake Layman's a bitch.
Yeah, Jake Layman. If we've called anybody a bitch, that's definitely true. It would be Jake Layman. I'm sure we'll get to more. And then you have Malik Beasley starting at the 2 with Anthony Edwards coming off the bench. That is the plan to start the season off. I don't really agree with that, but especially when you have a garbage-ass lineup. And then you got D. Russ at the point. I mean, this team obviously, like, you draft Edwards, you get Jaden McDaniels in there. You didn't really sign, like, you got Rubio to come off the bench, but I don't know.
I feel like they've done that before.
They have. Like, I just wish that they would have, like, I obviously, like, when a team's horrible, they get the first pick, they get, supposedly the best player in the draft. Like, and then they have a turnaround and get another good pick, and you already have like an all-star center and shit, and a potentially all-star point guard too. Like, I just wish that they would have addressed like their forward spots, and I don't know, like, it's cool getting Rubio to back up Russell, but like why do you really need an embarrassment of riches at point guard when you have just such lacking at the forward? Like, why can't you? Somebody would turn around and trade Rubio for, I don't know.
My entire problem with this team is, when you got Cat and you still had Wiggins at the time, but you got Cat and you saw like, oh shit, like he's one of the best big men in the league, and you brought in Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler basically almost burnt down the city of Minnesota because he was playing with a bunch of bitches.
Right.
And then you ended up losing Jimmy Butler because you had that terrible culture there. And then you bring in D. Russ, you get rid of Wiggins, you bring in D. Russ, who's also kind of known, like, I mean, he's shown to turn it around a little bit over the last couple seasons, but when he came in, he was kind of known as immature and his head's not in the right place. And that, So you got Cat and you got Russ. Like, what's your culture going? And then you draft Anthony Edwards, who came out on draft day and basically said, like, I don't really give a shit about basketball. I just give a shit about, like, everything else.
Yeah.
I don't like what a terrible cultural fit.
Not to mention these guys don't play a lick of defense.
No, and
I mean,
and
you
Towns,
got a Kogi and Hollis Jefferson are your best defenders on the team. Like,
Towns is awesome and all, but like, literally, according to him, like, half of his family is alone, like, responsible for 45% of the COVID deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, not to rip on that, but like he's had a tough year.
Right.
So, man, like, I don't know if his head's in it at all. I mean, if that's all true, and he's lost like 6 family, like, legitimately,
right,
to COVID, and he wasn't really all that focused on winning in the first place.
No, he wasn't.
You got Russell and now Anthony Edwards, who said on draft day, is just, wow, what a bad culture.
It's
what a bad culture. I literally wrote down for a lot of these guys, like Rubio and Hollis Jefferson, whatever, nothing there to me. Okogie, Culver, Beasley, all right, whatever. Like, just nothing is exciting to me. Nothing is. I don't see any reason at all that this team goes over 28.5.
No.
I have them 24 and 48, and I feel like that's generous.
Same here. I mean, I have them 25 and 49, but, or 23 and 49. My bad. 23 and 49. I had too many games there. 23 and 49. But yeah, I mean, that's even under the assumption that you just have your random games where teams take off, and or D. Russ goes for 45, and
or Towns goes off,
has his.
I mean, there's good players there,
right? It's just weird to think, like, okay, so you have an all-star caliber center and an all-star caliber point guard, which are two of the most important positions on the floor. I mean, you could say what you want about centers anymore in this day and age, but to have somebody that could get your rebounds and protect the rim and stuff, not that Towns really can protect the rim, but I mean, he's still an all-star center.
I mean, the team that just won the finals had Anthony Davis. So
right.
I mean, that could be a very important thing.
Right. And now you're saying a team with 2 potential all-stars now got the number 1 overall pick, but we're both saying that it's going to be under 28.5, and it's probably not even going to be close. It just goes to show, like, it's just a bad culture. It's a bad mix of players. It's not. I don't trust any of them.
No, and not that all of a sudden he looked like an all-star, but Wiggins was noticeably different. as a part of the Warriors.
Yeah, he was like more excited and more
Culture's a real thing in sports.
It is, and like that's a Warriors team too that was missing like all the players, and he was still, he was more excited. He felt more at home. It seems like, yeah, it's the Timberwolves are a bad situation. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for them to get out of it. It's almost like I almost wouldn't mind them just like trying to see if they can just like stockpile like not even necessarily a lot of draft picks, but maybe like see if you can get like some like younger like defensive guy, like maybe see if you can move Towns and tank for a year or two and try to get some like young guys and some like maybe a draft pick or two, some guys that have like some like have either already played for a winning team or like played for a winning team in college or have like a lot of heart, like something,
I have no idea what you have to do on that team.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both got the under there. Next up, we got the OKC Thunder over under 22.5. Go ahead.
So they went 44-28 last year. I mean, obviously, it's a completely different team. You got Trevor Ariza, George Hill, Al Horford, Justin Jackson, Ty Jerome, Darius Miller, that Puklovsky. We were just reading about him.
The pterodactyl.
Yeah, the pterodactyl. It's interesting. They said he could, like, if he had a growth spurt like last year or the year before, and he was like 6'6" or 6'7" before that, and they said that before that, like, he would have been fine just coming in the league as like a shooting guard or a small forward, but then he got that big growth spurt, so now he's like 7 feet tall, but he only weighs 190 pounds. And he's like still like a shooting guard, small forward type. So that's interesting.
It's such a weird team with these young guys that they have outside of Shea. They're just like all these guys that are like able to be really good, but they weren't like thought of as like going to be very good.
Yeah, like Dort.
And even Shea wasn't like,
yeah, no, he wasn't.
You know, like a mid lottery.
Yeah.
So, Dort, Diallo, Basley, like,
yeah,
it's a weird mix of shit going on.
So, and then you also got Theo Maledon, you got Keelan Williams, you got Frank Jackson. They got like 75 players from the Pelicans.
And they have like 75 picks coming up.
Yeah. So they lost their entire starting lineup. I mean, they lost Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, Steven Adams, Nino Gallinari, Andre Roberson, Nerlens Noel.
Say Andre Roberson one more time.
Andre Roberson, for real, if you see this, fuck you.
He's been dead to me since he banged Rachel Diamanda.
Man, I think they're still dating too, honestly. She wheels him around in his wheelchair or whatever. The thing that I don't, that and the fact that Andre Roberson, like, they would act like, oh, they have Andre Roberson. He hadn't played like 3 fucking years.
Paul George is coming back because of Andre Roberson.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a new coach. They lost Billy Donovan, obviously. Went to the Bulls, as we discussed on the last video. They replaced him. I don't even Mark Daignault, some shit. He was Billy Donovan's assistant at Florida, and then at OKC too. So it's like one of those situations where like, oh, we've been like good but not good enough for all these years, so let's like fire the coach because that's what you have to do, and we'll just hire the guy that's like clearly just going to be part of the same system but not be Billy Donovan. So I hate that type of move.
Yeah,
especially when the whole team's changing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I it seems like a good time for a complete culture overhaul if that's where you're going for.
Right, just get somebody else.
So this Daignault, first and last coaching job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got your starting lineup projected as Horford at the 5, Basley at the 4, Dort at the 3, Diallo at the 2, and Shea at the 1. It's like really weird team. Like their 4th or 1 through 4 are like fairly similar in size.
There's no need to overthink it. This team's got a lot of potential, and the next few years, and they have a fuck ton of draft picks. So
yeah,
the next few years they're going to be completely fucking awful, and they're just
Right.
going to be okay. So you know Shea's good.
Right.
The rest of them you're going to be evaluating and seeing who's going to be the cornerstones and what you add with draft picks. This year though, I have them 11-51, and I think that's generous. I think the 22.5 over under was like just out of respect of like this team was a playoff team last year.
Right.
Very confident under. I don't think there's too much overthinking it. The team's going to be terrible.
Yeah, they're going to be bad. I have them a little bit better than you do, but I mean, I have them 17-55.
Mm.
Like, I think it's a fairly easy under. I don't think like I like that they have like you kind of you're talking about. There is a lot of talent there to evaluate. There's a lot of guys that got some good time last year, like
Yeah.
Dort and Basley. Like those guys look good, and I think like this, like it's just one of those situations. Like, look, you got to chill for like a couple years. We're gonna be bad, but like we have good pieces on our team, so don't freak the fuck out.
Right.
You know, like don't freak the fuck out and trade all of them for, you know, I don't know, some like over the hill fucking, you know, not worth it guy to put fans in the seats. Like, just chill
Right.
out, get your draft picks, and you're gonna be fine.
Right. I mean, I think this team's set to move in the right direction.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, but it's going to be a few years of some shit.
Right. Right.
So, next up we got the Portland Trailblazers over under 41.5 championship odds plus 4,000.
Okay. 35-39 last year, but they did make the playoffs at that. They added Covington, and as Cantor, Derek Jones, and Harry Giles. It's pretty good. Harry Giles.
It's all right. It's not
He's
really
okay.
good. It's all right. You added Covington and then some shit.
Yeah.
I like all
You
those
added
guys
Covington.
too.
Like, that's not bad. That's not bad. Like, I don't know. Like, I would rather have Derek Jones than Hezonja, who they lost, and I would rather have Harry Giles than Gabriel. And then
That's a straight wash, the biggest wash I've ever heard. Wayne and Gabriel, some random dude from Kentucky, and Harry Giles, some random dude from Duke.
That's true.
It's like the biggest wash of all time.
So you lost Hezonja, Gabriel, and Trevor Ariza, but you also lost Hassan Whiteside, who played some big minutes in the bubble. So you're running out Nurkic, Covington, Derek Jones Jr. at the 3, CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard. I don't really. It's weird because like when you look at this team on paper, they look like a pretty good team. Other than the kind of the small forward spot, like a Derek Jones Jr. Like I like Derek Jones Jr., but I don't really know as a starter. The team looks fairly well built. It's just that kind of. I don't think they have as much depth this year, and I don't think like kind of the
They're
same.
starting Jones Jr. They're not starting Melo anywhere.
Melo's a 6-man.
Oh, okay.
Melo's a 6-man. They're saying so. You do have him. I guess I forgot about that with the depth. So you got Melo as your 6-man. So that's. I mean, you look at this team on paper and they look pretty good. It's just kind of one of those things. It's like okay, like Nurkic might get hurt again, and like McCollum has his games where he's 3 for 85 shooting, and then he has other games where he's sweet. And it's like Lillard is the only like super consistent one, and how long can you go with that? It's nice to bring Covington in, knowing that that's a guy that you can trust. That even if his shot's not on, he's gonna play defense. He's gonna rebound. You know, he's not gonna make a lot of mistakes. What do you think about this team?
Cantor's a big step back from Whiteside.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
McCollum, I keep in my head, I'm like, you know what? CJ McCollum sucks. I don't think it's that. I think it's that he's undersized.
Yeah.
And for a lot of years, he's been one of those guys, not on that level, but like an AI that just attacks the rim. And after a while, that takes its toll on you. So I think he's injured more consistently than people realize because of his size and because of the slashing nature of his game.
Like, he would be a good guy to put, like, Drew Holiday around, too. You know?
Right,
like,
right.
It's because I always, even though he's smaller, like I always consider McCollum and Middleton kind of similar type players. They just like they both kind of you never know what you think about them. Like one day you think they're fucking sweet, and then the next day you think they suck. You
Right,
know?
right. For McCollum, I think a lot of it's just. I mean, he's a lot shooting based too, which those guys
Right,
they just have their games.
right.
But I think he's injured a lot more than he lets on.
I think so.
I went 35 and 37. I'm not very high on this team, but I think a lot of it for me, honestly, is with McCollum getting banged up a little more consistently, and then Melo being another year older, and I don't know if that spark for him coming there last year is like still going to be there this year. And
I
then,
don't think he's really going to be anything this year.
me either. And then it's just with Lillard, like just how many years can you keep? And it's not just that they make the playoffs and like, oh, he's great, but he just can't get over that hump to win a title. Like they just lose in the first fucking round every year.
Right.
Like you fought and clawed and found your way, in what were they last year?
35 and 39.
With a losing record in the West, you found
Yeah.
your way into the playoffs only to get your shit pushed in by the fucking Lakers.
Right.
I just think at a certain point, especially with all the commercials and like he's a rapper, blah 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 blah. I don't know how long that killer nature of Lillard can last in Portland,
Right.
and I just have a gut feeling that this is the year it falls apart.
I can see it.
Especially with a lot of other teams in the West coming up that were down recently.
I can see it. So the under was or the over under was 41.5. I had them at 39 and 33. So I did have them a bit better than you, but still.
I would like to point out there's Trent Jr., Nazir Little, Anthony.
Anthony, yes.
Yeah. It makes me think of Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Anthony Simons, Zach Collins, and then Giles. Those guys, this team could stay right there and
They
possibly
could.
get a little better if those guys, especially like Trent Jr. was a big
He
part
was
of that
actually,
team.
yeah, he was.
If those guys progress, and Simons has shown flashes, and Collins too. So if those guys can be decent
Collins
young
is like
players,
dead though, isn't he? Or
I have
something?
no fucking idea. He just keeps coming back and then going away like abruptly.
Yeah.
He's very dramatic about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean if those guys come along, they could stay right in that hunt. And I expect them to be in the playoff hunt. It's just I have a feeling that this team is not going to be what people think they are. But it's
I can definitely see
it's
it.
more in my gut than anything.
Right.
On paper, they look okay.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz over under 42.5, championship odds plus 4,000.
Okay. 44 and 28 last year. They lost Ed Davis, Tony Bradley, and Emmanuel Mudiay.
No.
And they got Derek Favors back, which makes me happy, which is very exciting for me. So you brought Favors in, you brought Favors back in. So, I mean, that's a big step up from Tony Bradley and Ed Davis. Huge. Emmanuel Mudiay, I don't know, who cares? Like
Nobody gives a shit.
yeah. So your starting lineup's going to look the same. You got Gobert, O'Neal, Bogdanovich, Mitchell, and Conley. You got off the bench. You still got Ingles and you still got Clarkson, but now you got Favors. So now that's somebody to kind of take some pressure off. If you have Royce O'Neal's not going to have to play 42 minutes a game or whatever it is.
Right. Might even get to move up to the 3 here and there.
Ooh, maybe, yeah.
That'd be hot.
Yeah, he's like 6'5".
I know. Yeah. He's not all that fat.
No, he's not.
Why he always has to play the floor.
I know. But yeah, so I mean, this team's they're pretty much the same as they have been, other than adding Derek Favors. But I mean, that's just another year of Conley on that team, and Conley's still he's his game, he's fine. He's not in his prime anymore, but he's not oh shit, he's way over the hill.
No.
Mike Conley's still fine. The way
He can still
plays.
at times he still looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And if they can keep him healthy through the regular season into the playoffs, he's going to be trouble.
Right.
He started to look pretty comfortable in that team towards the end of the year, and once he got healthy, and don't forget Bogdanovich was out a lot last year.
Oh, yeah.
Now Bogdanovich is going to be back.
Right.
Gobert and Mitchell patched up their relationship
Right.
after Gobert started COVID in America.
Yeah, and he honestly did.
He did.
I mean, like they both got their new contracts. Donovan Mitchell.
He's a killer.
Like if you told me, okay, 2 minutes left in the game. 2 minutes left in the game. It's a tie game, whatever. Who are your top five in the league? Donovan Mitchell would be one of my five.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he would be.
They brought in. They drafted Elijah Hughes and Azubuike.
Mm-hmm.
I like those draft picks.
Those are good draft picks.
I think for a team like the Jazz, they could both end up working their way into a rotation.
Right.
I'm not a huge Clarkson fan, but I get the re-signing, and
Right.
it is an important piece to their bench.
Right.
Ingles is back. Mitchell's a true superstar. Started showing it in the
Right.
playoffs.
Right.
Reminds me of Lillard, honestly.
Yeah.
I only see him getting better. So this is probably one of my favorite overs. I got him 47 and 25, and they're my dark horse West team to win it. Like I could
Interesting.
easily see them winning the West.
45 and 27 for me. So close, but I do definitely like the over of 42.5. And I think getting back to Donovan Mitchell for a minute, like, is he the closest thing to Kobe that is in the league right now? I mean, like,
I
really,
could see, yeah, probably.
like, really, like, if you had to say,
stylistically, game wise, probably Tatum.
right?
But as far as like the attitude and the Mamba mentality,
Mhm.
yeah, probably Donovan
He
Mitchell.
might be.
I mean, he's just the fuck you, give me the ball, I'm going.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, he showed it. He showed it in the postseason, especially last year. He's just,
right,
and I mean,
Awesome.
he's a two-way player too. He's good defensively.
right.
Could jump out the gym. He's developing a very consistent jumper, a guy that you want the ball in his hands. I have a lot of faith in this team.
I do too. I like them. I'm 45 and 27 in the regular season, but I think that they'll definitely make some noise in the playoffs. Not that we really projected like who we have. I mean, we talked about kind of the finals and stuff, but I think that
I think plus 4,000.
plus 4,000. That's
is
not
a
a bad.
pretty decent dart throw if you got some money.
I mean, like plus 4,000, you got $10 to throw on it. You can win $400. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Right.
It's not a bad play.
Right. Next up, we got the Golden State Warriors over under 36.5. Championship odds plus 2,200. So just wrap your mind around that real quick. That the Utah Jazz over under is 42.5. Championship odds 4,000 plus 4,000. Golden State Warriors over under is 36.5. Championship odds plus 2,200.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, unless you're saying
it's because that over under is fucking retarded.
yeah, like unless you're saying that like okay, like this Warriors team has a chance to be fucking sweet, but like they might not. Like I don't really know like what you're. I don't know. They went 15 and 50 last year, obviously. So you brought in Kelly Oubre. You brought in James Wiseman. You brought in Nico Mannion, who I fucking love. That was a
Love
sweet
that
pick. You brought in Kent Bazemore, who's not bad, and he's also apparently like best friends with Steph Curry, or at least he thinks he's best friends with Steph Curry. But that's good enough.
As long as he believes it.
Yeah, and then you got
Brad Wanamaker.
I don't want to talk about Brad Wanamaker. I think he is the biggest.
He's a
piece of
bitch.
shit that I've ever seen step onto
Who
a
was it?
basketball court.
It might have been Draymond. It was someone on the Warriors team was like talking shit about how ugly Brad Wanamaker is, and now they're teammates. So
That's
I'm gonna
probably
assume
with
it's
Draymond.
Draymond.
Probably.
Makes the most sense.
So your losses from okay, and then you could say like, if you want to like get technical, you could say you added like Steph or whatever. You lost Kai Bowman, and that's fucking it. That is it. So your starting lineup here is Wiseman at the 5, Draymond at the 4, Oubre at the 3, Wiggins at the 2, Steph at the 1. So you got like Draymond, Oubre, and Wiggins, who can all play like 4 different positions. And then you got all those guys that played last year, your Damian Lee and your Jordan Poole, like all those type of guys. They have Pascal,
Chris.
and Chris, those guys that were starting last year, and they started to form some, get some good habits and started to form some chemistry. I mean, they had that little run where they had when Draymond was healthy. Remember that when they were like all stoked and they were like they won all those games.
Yeah, he was all pumped up.
I mean, it might have only been like 4 or 5
I think
games,
it was 5 games in a row.
but still, like just to have that,
Yeah.
and Steph and Clay on the bench, like cheering them on.
Yeah, I think as long as you have one of Clay or Curry and Draymond on the court, that alone puts you above 36.5 wins.
Yeah.
Now you take all those guys that you just named that got all that experience last year,
Yeah.
send them along for the ride. Oh, and you brought in one of the best center prospects in recent memory. I think in the last few years,
yeah.
Fucking stud.
Yeah.
Also, okay, you lost Clay, but you got Oubre and Wiggins, who are both solid wing defenders.
Yeah.
They can make up for that, and they're both okay shooters.
Right.
Mannion, you got in the second round. He's first-round talent.
Yeah.
He dropped a little. I mean,
Yeah.
Sean Miller sucks at fucking Arizona.
Oh, it's absolutely
fucking
terrible.
terrible.
Yeah.
It blows my mind he's still a coach. Mannion he's a first-round talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's going to do fine there.
Yeah.
And even
and
ass Wanamaker. I mean, he
Yeah.
did play backup point guard on a playoff team.
He did.
I
mean, when you're talking like, okay, so you're Nico Mannion. You're like this young kid, got ass loads of talent. You go to Arizona.
Ugly as fuck.
Oh, he's ugly as sin. But then you go to Arizona and like whatever, like you said, Sean Miller sucks. It's just a terrible situation. Now you go to Golden State and you don't have any expectations because you're a second round pick. And you're getting to learn from Steph Curry and Steve Kerr on how to play the point guard position. Like, how can you ask for anything better? Somebody that was coming into college was a top 15 talent. Like, I love it. And this team...
And you just play Wanamaker until Mannion's ready.
Yeah.
Mannion's ready around playoff
That's
time.
Sweet. Yeah.
This is a dumb over-under.
Yeah. Over-under is 36.5. I got him at 46 and 26.
I got him 45 and 27.
Yeah, and really, I mean, that's only because, like, it might take a minute for those guys to kind of start working well together. I mean, for Wiseman to get his rhythm, it's been a while.
If anything is going to take a minute, I think it's going to be the entire team getting used to the fact that they have a stud-ass center for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best center that they've ever had.
It's so easy for all these guys. It seems like, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of work that goes into it, obviously, but
yeah.
It seems like it's so easy for so many of these guys to just step into Golden State and just, all right, man, I'm in the system now. Let's do it.
Right.
Fuck it.
And I'm so glad that the Warriors didn't end up trading that pick and fucking shit up. I mean, you take Wiseman, like he's the best center on the board.
Easily.
He's
second best player
in the draft, the top 3 at least. And you just take them and like that's your fucking team, and then you're able to add Oubre. Like it's 46 and 26, and I would be more surprised. I would be more surprised for them to win less than 40 games than I would for them to win like 55.
Oh, same here. Same here. I mean, if Curry stays healthy, it's a no-brainer. They're at the worst a 4 seed.
Right.
So 36.5 wins, that's a stupid number.
Yeah.
That's a stupid number. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are projected to win 38.5.
Yeah.
And we'll get into what I feel about the Phoenix Suns. But you're telling me that Steph Curry is on a team that's projected to lose more games than the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah.
I mean,
and you still got Draymond. Oh, and you got Wiggins and Oubre and Wiseman.
You're missing Clay.
You're missing Clay.
Don't give me the Durant shit. They won titles without Durant.
They won 72 games without Durant, didn't they?
Yeah.
73 games without Durant. I mean, that's the thing too. Is like Clay. I mean, Clay Thompson's is my favorite player in the league.
He's a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, he is my favorite player.
He's the best two-way player in the league.
Yeah, but when you're telling me that You're losing Klay Thompson, but now instead of that, you have Oubre and Wiggins as opposed to those
And a
teams that won
legitimate center.
championships and a legitimate center. Yeah, I mean, you can't say that team's like 25 wins worse. Like, come on,
And we're throwing out Wiggins and Oubre, but what is the one goddamn thing that Kent Bazemore can do? Play defense because he can't play any fucking offense.
I know.
But he's a really good defender. It's the only reason he's in the league.
Yeah.
So, you have a lot of guys to make up ground for that.
I mean, this is the best defensive team in the league, and it's quite frankly, it's not even close. I mean, the Clippers have an argument.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, like nobody else really has an argument for it. I mean, you have all guys, that are,
and they're all going to buy in.
They're all going to buy in too. So yeah, it's I mean, easy over. Yeah,
easy over. So our next team is going to be the Los Angeles Clippers, over under 45.5, championship odds plus 650.
Okay. 49-23 last year. So they added Luke Kennard, who got a very big contract today. They added Nick Batum, Kai Bowman, and Serge Ibaka, which I don't like because I haven't looked at it, and I'm sure I can make sense of it when I look at it because I understand the NBA salary cap, I understand bird rights, I understand exceptions, I understand all that kind of stuff. But just from just seeing this shit today and kind of thinking about it, I'm like, how the fuck did they afford to give Luke Kennard that giant extension, and then they still brought in Ibaka, who was probably more expensive,
and they re-signed Morris.
Like, I think, I don't know, like to me, like that feels like a team that's just like way over the fucking the luxury tax, and like they don't have any wiggle room for a long time.
I said on my thing, I just saw this. Like, once again, Ty Lue walks into a sweet ass situation, which, okay. He got to come into the Cavs with LeBron.
Yeah.
But then I said he has a horse lodged up his ass, which explains why his eyes pop out of his head. It's supposed to be horseshoe, but.
There's a horse up his ass.
He has a horse in his ass. That's why his eyes are really bugging out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, go ahead. I just saw that.
So you lost all your power forwards off the bench: Montrezl Harrell, JaMychal Green, and Jonathan Motley. You lost Landry Shamet and Ronnie McGruder at the 2. So your starting lineup moving forward here is Ibaka at the 5. You'll have Zubac backing him up. Marcus Morris, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Patrick Beverley. I'll tell you what. I don't think that this team is too much of a threat, and I'll tell you why. I like bringing in Ibaka, and obviously Kawhi is one of the best players in the league, if not all time. And Paul George, say what you want about his playoffs and shit, and there are issues there. What was it? It was playoff P, and then there was the pandemic P. Pandemic P. But at least in the regular season, he's a great player. My issue with this team is that you don't have a point guard, and Patrick Beverley has not been doing it, and he's just another year older. And I don't know, like, you're in that weird situation. Like, yeah, like Kawhi and Paul George can run the point here and there, but like, you don't really want that. Like, you don't. Like, those guys aren't that type to where, like, you just want them bringing the ball up the court every fucking time. Like, I don't like that. Like, you can get away with that with LeBron because of the way they run their offense and shit, and it's not ideal, but I don't know. I don't like that with this team. And Patrick Beverley was, I mean, he's still okay defensively, but he's not nearly what he was, and he's a complete liability on offense. And now you have... you have like Lou Williams or whatever. Like, he's another year older. I just don't like this team. Like, I don't think that they're going to get over the hump. I really don't. What do you think?
The chemistry problems were the big thing last year.
Yeah.
And
granted, like last year, they only played like half a season together, pretty much. So,
and before the shutdown of the league, they were going on a tear. and they
Yeah.
were starting to get it together.
Yeah.
Losing Doc Rivers as the head coach, I don't really see how that would solve the chemistry problems.
Uh-uh.
I think it more so does help to get rid of Harrell. I think it came to the forefront a little bit that in the postseason, Harrell seemed like one of the problems.
Yeah, he did.
I think
He did.
Harrell got a little too big for his britches, and he's just utterly disrespected Paul George, which is like the popular thing to do these days. But I'd much rather have
Yeah, Paul George than Montrezl Harrell. Like, come on.
So I mean, he was a legitimate MVP candidate a couple years ago. So,
Yeah.
I am on the same page with you. I think the giant problem with this team is Patrick Beverly. With the defense that this team plays, Patrick Beverly is great if he's coming off the bench. He's a gritty defender.
Yeah, yeah.
But as a starting point guard, I don't like that. I think it's their glaring weakness. To say they're not a threat, I'm not quite on board with that because it's just limitless defense on this team that
You
could
do.
match up with anybody. And now you add Ibaka, and even Batum is a pretty great defensive addition. I think they're obviously a contender. I think if the season was determined on paper, they're the champions. But the season is not determined on paper. So I don't know how this team gets its chemistry together when Paul George doesn't have the respect of the locker room or the league to be the leader, and Kawhi is not a vocal leader. I don't know now that Doc's gone where that leadership comes from that fixes those locker room problems. And we've been saying it over and over again as we go through these teams. We don't like when you don't have a legitimate point guard.
Right.
Unless Kai Bowman can like step into that role.
Yeah.
I think it could be another year where the Clippers do fall short. I mean, like I said, on paper you look at it and they should be the number one contender, but yeah, I think it could be a problem without having a point guard with the chemistry problems, and now you got Ty Lue. It could be a problem.
Right. And let me say this too, like when we talk about shit, sometimes we get like dramatic and like I'll say like like said it without saying it, kind of like, oh, the Warriors are fucking sweet, but the Clippers suck. But I have them both going 46 and 26.
Right. I have 50 and 22.
Yeah, it's just the perception. Like you're kind of trying to pick apart your better teams and build up your lesser teams to based on like what the perception is. So like if I mean, okay, so Vegas believes and most people believe that the Clippers are going to be a lot better than the Warriors this year. We're kind of trying to explain why that we think that they're going to be more similar.
The gap is going to be a lot.
The gap is going to be a lot closer, and
I don't necessarily think those teams match up very. The Clippers should, without Clay,
they match up better with the Warriors, than most teams would. It's just like you kind of like to talk about. Okay, well, you look at that and you look at that lineup and you're like, boom, Ibaka, Leonard, George, right. And it's like, okay, but let's talk about Pat Beverly and let's talk about the coaching situation and Lou Williams and these guys getting older and guys not getting really getting along. And so we're not saying that the Clippers are going to suck. We're saying that, and the Clippers could very well win the championship this year. It wouldn't be surprising. It wouldn't be surprising. It's just that we're trying to break things down to where you can understand like strengths and weaknesses of every team, and that's I think the Clippers have a little bit more of a weakness, a glaring weakness than people really realize, and that is the point.
And I guess the big thing about this team for me is I was one of the people last year that was looking at the team, and I just couldn't figure out how teams were going to beat them.
Yeah,
I just couldn't figure, like LeBron got Davis now, and this team has that, but how the fuck, like, just the Clippers defensively, it's ridiculous. But it's just the same reason that they failed to beat the fucking Nuggets, which is a team they should have easily put away in 6 games.
Yeah,
at most.
At most, yeah.
It's the same reason now that I've seen it. I can point it out and say, oh, like, what changed?
Right.
and I don't see the thing that changed the problems that they had last year.
No.
I don't see it.
No.
So while you added some skill, like Adenabach is huge,
Yeah.
and I think Batum's going to be a big addition too. But
Yeah.
I just don't see the leadership you added, and I don't
No.
see the band-aid for the chemistry problems.
No, and like I don't know, it's a tough one because like I guess I can understand Doc, but like it's hard because like Doc Rivers is probably my favorite coach. So
Doc's a
it's
compilation of not just this Clippers team, but the Lob City Clippers teams too.
Right,
Like,
right.
You know, Doc didn't just get pinned to the wall because of this last year. It was just the final straw.
Right. So you bring in Lou. I mean, obviously he's going to be more of a player's coach, but like I don't really know that that's going to affect like these guys that much.
Doc
like,
was a player's coach.
Yeah, he is.
You know, you don't think that hurt a little bit? Like, Doc Rivers doesn't expect the most out of his team in practice, and
right.
Doc lets you take your load management games, and
right.
I mean, you don't think that affects the chemistry? It does.
Right.
You're not getting all that work in together, and it was a brand new team. Now that is one of the things that could go for this year is how much do people love it when the Heat joined up, the big three, and they didn't right away like take the world by the storm,
right?
And then okay, next year, okay, here we are,
right?
So now they do have another year where maybe things are clicking.
Yeah.
So I mean that is something maybe to consider is what could put them over.
Right.
But I just don't see the leadership that they need to glue. So, yeah, I mean, both of us over.
Yeah, both of us over slightly, but over, Mm-hmm. So, it would be an interesting one.
Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Over under 46.5. Championship odds plus 250. Come on.
You can't have an NBA team plus 250. Like, it's just...
plus 250 to go back to back.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
So 52-19 last year. They added Dennis Schroeder, Alfonso McKinney, right? Alfonso McKinney.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, Alfonso McKinney. Marcus Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, Wes Matthews. Wes Matthews, if you're watching this, dude, we fucking love you. I don't know why, but we just do.
You're seriously. On like every single franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why we're obsessed with Wes Matthews. He's my dude. Yeah. They lost Danny Green, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, Rajon Rondo, and I wrote Avery Bradley twice, but so their projected lineup to start off here, what they're planning on doing in LA is they're planning on running Marc Gasol at the 5 to start off, Anthony Davis at the 4, KCP at the 3, Dennis Schroeder at the 2, and LeBron at the 1. I mean, like, obviously, okay, so this team won the championship last year. This is a really slow team.
Slow starting 5.
That's a slow starting 5. Now, you added Harrell off the bench. You got Wes Matthews off the bench. And now, I guess, who was I talking about before? I don't even remember. Because there was somebody else off. Well, you got Kuz, too.
Yeah.
You lost like Danny Green, Avery Bradley, Rajon Rondo, like all those like small like wing defenders.
You added Wes Matthews.
Oh yeah, you did add Wes Matthews.
You still got KCP,
right? So you still got some. It's a very slow starting 5. I know they're gonna mix shit up. Marc Gasol will probably only play like 18 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game. Harrell will play center. Davis will play center. LeBron will play anywhere from 1 to 4. So there's going to be a lot of different matchups in there. They're gonna be able to match up with a lot of teams doing that. That being said, like I don't really think they match up that great with the best teams. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they really got like any better or worse than last year with what they did. What do you think?
I think on paper the team looks like they improved.
I mean, getting Schroeder was pretty big. That's
so Avery Bradley's gone, but he didn't even play in the bubble.
No, he didn't.
And not really much at all last season.
Right.
Danny Green sucked. He just wasn't all that good last year.
Bitch, ugly.
Yeah. So you lose Howard and Rondo, and that hurts. But you bring in Harrell and Schroeder, which I think it's pretty simple to say that they're improvements on paper.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you break it down, like position wise, like okay, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, but you're getting Marcus Gasol and Montrezl Harrell. Like I would rather have Gasol and Harrell,
Right.
you know, and then Schroeder for like what all those guards. I would rather have Schroeder. So I guess it is definitely an improvement.
Um. So at this point, here's my thing. LeBron's never a big, and you know he's had these seasons recently where like, oh, I played all 82 games. He's never one that has been huge on caring about the regular season.
No, no.
And he is super pissy. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he used the word pissed because that's he loves.
When LeBron swears, it is a big thing.
It's a big thing. And when he
Pissed.
he hits that word
Yeah.
like he is just dropping the worst word he possibly. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
So he is pissed about starting the season when they're starting it because he doesn't understand that fans give a shit about the Christmas Day games.
I wonder if he was that pissed that he had to go out and buy a new purse. He
Probably had to go get that purse.
He might have to get a new purse.
So I don't think he's going to be that engaged to start the season.
And he won his championship in LA last year. Like, you know, it was, you know, he can say what I came to LA and I won a championship and I won it in the
third
with
different team,
COVID and for a third different team and for Kobe and all this kind of shit. I don't like is he going to be that engaged this year about, you know, like
I don't think so. And on top of that, so you're bringing in Schroeder and Harrell and they're new and it's upgrades, but you have your team leaders not all that engaged and they weren't part of that championship team last year, so they're trying to find their way. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis is like notorious for just like taking most of seasons off and kind of being a bitch and like, I mean, he was all in last year and he was an MVP caliber player.
Right.
But now that he's got that title monkey off his back, I don't see it really being right there off the rip. Especially,
I think this is gonna be one of the like least motivated teams.
I think so too,
and one of the least motivated title teams that we've ever seen.
I agree
because I don't see LeBron or Davis or these guys really caring that much.
So 46.5. I have them at 46 and 26, like right at the over under, and I could easily see them going over more than I could see them going under.
Right.
But then again, I mean, Davis, you know, when you take into account his entirety of his career as compared to just last year, where, you know, okay, I'm playing with LeBron and like we got all these expectations. Well, you got that title. So like, does Davis get hurt? What happens if Davis gets hurt? You suck.
Oh, you suck. Yeah.
LeBron's 35,
36.
Yeah,
36.
now.
Yeah.
If he's not on all the steroids, you know,
right,
he might get hurt. I don't know. Like, it's just there's a lot of variables. I just, like we said, I don't think this is a very motivated team. I think they're just going to be biding time to get to the playoffs, and it's going to be one of those situations where LeBron's just like meandering up the court, trying to give the ball to Davis every fucking play. Like, here, go ahead, dude. I'm going to lead the league in assists and make Davis the MVP.
Yeah.
And that's going to be his whole thing this year. And I don't really think Davis is going to care. And I think Harrell and Schroeder are going to take a while to fall in line with finding their role on the team. I just think it's going to be a strange start to the season. I think it's going to take them a little bit to get going.
Right. I have them going 50 and 22. That being said, I would not touch that over under at all. Because they could definitely go under that. They could definitely go over that. I 100% agree with everything that you just said, and I think that there's a very good chance that this team just doesn't care enough about the regular season, especially because of how pissed they are that they have to play. So, like, I don't know. They're a team that, like, they have all the talent and they have, you know, this and that and this and that, but and they're the defending champions. it's gonna be a weird year for them.
LeBron decided he was the GOAT after they beat the Warriors.
Yeah,
After with the Cavs.
yeah,
And now that LeBron won that title with the Lakers, you know in his mind there is not a shadow of the doubt that
right.
he is the fucking greatest of all time, no question, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I just don't. I think LeBron for the rest of his career is gonna play with his kid
right.
whenever his kid gets in the league,
That's what he was
and
saying.
that's the
like
next milestone.
Yeah, that's what he was kind of saying too. The thing too is that, like, I feel like LeBron, that was his last, like, yeah, like you said, like until his kid comes in the league, like that was kind of like his last hurrah. Like, okay, go to the Lakers and win a championship.
Mm.
Now he's settled in there, and now that's done. So
You got Space Jam 2 coming out.
yeah, and he's
Like-
got all his social issues and political issues and all that kind of shit. I think he's going to be a little bit more worried about that than playing basketball. Not to mention he's 36 years old. I mean, I'm 36. I wake up every fucking day like, oh, my back hurts, my legs hurt, this and that.
And you
Like,
guys
yeah.
are in like the same shape.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does, it takes a toll on these guys. I mean, look at like running backs last till they're like 28
And
now.
LeBron,
And LeBron
his skill
plays
set
like
is a running back.
Yeah. So it takes a toll. And like, I don't know. I just think that I think he'll have a good year, and Davis will have a good year, and the Lakers will have a good year. But it's not going to be like,
Statistically, everything's going to look fine.
it's going to look fine. But when you watch the games, it's going to be like, they don't fucking care. It's kinda, and I think that's going to hurt them in the playoffs. Like I don't think I wouldn't have them.
There's going to be hungrier
my-
teams than that.
Yeah, very much so.
And as much shit as we talked in our Eastern Conference preview about the Nets, if the Nets make the finals and the Lakers make the finals, Nets are going to want that.
It's so
Kevin Durant's going to buzzsaw that motherfucker.
Yeah, it's so matchup based. Like the NBA, and that's what I love about the NBA. It's so based on it's based on particular, based on players' personalities, and it's based on coaching, and it's based a lot on matchups, like more than any other sport, I think.
So if the Heat were to come up into the finals against the Lakers again, you're going to have the same outcome.
Right.
Because the Lakers know they could beat the Heat. They just did it.
Right.
Teams aren't different.
Right.
But
then like if the Nets come up, if the
Or the
Nets come up,
Celtics.
the Nets I think would kill the Lakers in the finals. Celtics, I think they would be
go 7 games and it'd be tough.
that'd be a good series, but I think the Celtics would end up beating them. But then you have like the Bucks. Like I think the Lakers would manhandle the Bucks, but I had the Bucks as my 1 seed.
Right.
Like it's just matchup based.
And as much shit as we just talked on the Clippers, if they actually did meet up in the Western Conference this year, the Clippers would buzzsaw. They'd take them out.
Yeah,
The Clippers are going to want it more.
Yeah, it just depends. It really all depends on your matchups. It depends on how your team momentum, your team chemistry. There's a lot that goes into it.
So our next team is going to be the Phoenix Suns, over under 38.5, championship odds plus 4,000.
So Suns were 34-34 last year. So they played 68 games. Whatever. So they added Chris Paul, obviously, Jay Crowder, Langston Galloway, Etwan Moore, Jonathan Motley, Jalen Smith. I feel like I've said Jonathan Motley like 12
Way
times
more times than we
tonight.
needed to.
I know. So, and then they lost Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Kelly Oubre, Aaron Baines, Czech Diallo, and Frank Kaminsky. So, I mean, I definitely I don't know. They lost some decent pieces there, but their gains were definitely better than their losses for sure. I mean, obviously, you get Chris Paul. Chris Paul showed last year that he's willing to try to win on any team, and now you've put him with a young, hungry team. Jay Crowder, kind of the same thing, pretty much. Just a younger version, different position, but still has the hunger. Jay Crowder will play 45 fucking minutes if he has to. Gonna lock down defense.
And, he's not going to have to, because honestly, As much
He
as I
doesn't
like
have to.
Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges is the same fucking player.
Yeah, he is. He
Same
is.
exact player.
He
Possibly
is.
even a better shooter.
He might be.
But same exact player could play the same positions, solid defensive wing defender, shoot the three.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing.
And like you lost Baines, but now you bring in a young rookie, Jalen Smith. Like, oh, he's a pretty boy. Oh,
He's something.
he is quite the pretty boy.
Creeps me out.
But he's looked good so far. He's looked okay. So at least in the preseason. So we'll see what happens with him. But I like that pick for them. I like that.
Booker's a star.
Booker's an absolute star.
He's never had a point guard like CP3.
No,
giving him the ball.
no. So now you got that backcourt, which is, I mean, absolutely deadly.
It's filthy.
It's deadly.
Ayton, it's like DeAndre Jordan 2.0 for Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Lob City.
Yeah.
And Ayton, a lot of people don't know, Ayton like really started playing basketball like 6 years ago.
Yeah. He doesn't play that.
It's pretty fucking scary.
Right.
He's only gonna get, and you could even see in this preseason that he's learning the game more and more and more. He's only gonna get better.
I mean, he's probably like within the next year, 2 years, like he'll probably be the best center in the league.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. And then you got Crowder and Bridges at the forward spots. Man, this team's
nice.
This team's cool. This team is good.
And here's the thing. You have Chris Paul. Chris Paul makes the playoffs. This is what Chris Paul fucking does.
Yeah, exactly.
What they won 34 last year?
34 and 34.
Chris Paul, he's not worth 5 games.
Yeah. And you got like
come on, man.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Suns make the playoffs. Chris Paul's gonna make the playoffs.
Yep.
It's simple.
So 38.5 was the over under. I had him 41 and 31 and the playoff team.
Ooh, I had him 41 and 31 as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I mean I just think that's and
they're
could
hungry.
be better.
When they came back to that bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just unstoppable.
And that team, because I remember us talking about it. We were talking about it. We went on a like random walk around the neighborhood at like fucking 3:00 in the morning. And we were talking about how well the Suns were, like how good their chemistry was in the bubble, that it was better than any team. And I still think that.
And I remember we said they just need a fucking point guard.
Yeah.
And it's what we've been saying throughout both of these conference previews.
And now they got Chris Paul.
One of the best of all time.
Yeah, one of the best of all time. And now it's like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. You lost Oubre, but you got Jay Crowder, which is the same fucking thing. So, yeah.
And you still have Bridges.
So that team, I really like that team. And that team.
And you know what? Etwan Moore is a nice little piece off the bench.
He is.
Honestly, he's a good shooter.
Yeah.
So
and it's not like your bench is completely lacking.
Mm-mm.
You got a good team there. So I think that is your team. You know how every year you say, "Oh, this team's going to be like a 7 or 8 seed, but goddamn, I do not want to play them in the playoffs." That's this team this year.
Yeah,
that's the Suns.
Yeah, I agree. This is a dangerous team,
Mm-hmm.
and especially if they're in that range and the Lakers are a 3 seed.
Ooh, I don't like that matchup for the Lakers.
No. And we saw last year that Devin Booker is a fucking killer.
Who the fuck would guard him?
He will take the shots that he needs to take.
Yep.
And he'll fucking hit those shots.
Yeah.
Devin Booker's for real.
Yeah.
And now he has a point guard. And DeAndre Ayton's just as real. So
I mean, you got some you got some combination of Ayton, Crowder, and Bridges that could all like put some minutes on Davis, like and then you got like whatever, if one of them's on Davis, you have the other one.
Davis is gonna get his,
like,
but man, he's gonna have to work for it.
That's
I like this
team. I like this team.
It's a good team. Definitely over. 38.5 is not high enough. Sacramento Kings over under 27.5.
Okay. So they added Halliburton, Kaminsky, Glenn Robinson, and Hassan Whiteside. So you got a point guard in the draft, and you got Hassan Whiteside basically. You lost Bogdanovich, Bazemore, Harry Giles, and Alex Len. So not a huge amount of movement. Like probably the biggest things you lost Bogdanovich and you gained Whiteside. So they're planning on starting Rashawn Holmes still and bringing Whiteside off the bench. Bagley at the 4. So when Bagley gets hurt, Holmes will move to the 4 and Whiteside will start at the center. Harrison Barnes at the 3, Buddy Hield at the 2, and De'Aaron Fox at the 1. You know, I've always it's weird. Like I have this like love-hate relationship with Buddy Hield. Like I fucking hated him in college. And then once he came up, like I was like I started to really respect his game and I started to really like him. And then like the Kings just shit on him and shit on him and shit on him. And now, they've talked about trading him for a couple years. They bench him this and that, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we lost Bogdanovich, so now you have to start again. Yeah, like no, it's cool. Like you're our guy. It's cool.
And
like,
that's why I don't mind losing Bogdanovich because I think it gives Hield that extra time.
Right.
I like that Hield's going to get some more minutes, and I think he's going to use them well. I like the Halliburton pick.
I do too.
Halliburton looks like a really good lengthy wing player. Little weird getting him with Fox, and that's your best player. I never really like that. I don't like when you draft a position that is your best position,
especially when Fox is probably like 22 or something.
Yeah, it's like damn near the same age.
Yeah.
But he's a good player. I like the pick.
Yeah.
Whiteside's a decent addition. Always some chemistry issues that come with it. Never stays one place too long.
Right.
Bagley seems to have like no interest in playing NBA basketball.
No.
I fucking hate this team. I don't like this team.
I wonder if they plan on and Rashawn Holmes is undersized.
I don't give a shit about Rashawn Holmes.
I wonder if they plan on like moving Hield for real this time and playing Halliburton off the ball.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, it's just
I don't know if he's like all that special as a 2.
Right.
It's a weird clunky fit. Like I like him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they do with that mix.
Right. So this team went 31-41 last year, which actually I don't really know how. Like they had a lot of injuries and they don't have a lot of talent. Like De'Aaron Fox is
De'Aaron Fox is legit.
He's one of my favorite players in the league as well. I love De'Aaron Fox. And he's really, really good, but I mean, these guys around him, like, it's all just like, oh, he's okay. He's all right. He's okay. He's all right. But, like, I don't know. You need somebody. Like, if you told me you had, either, like, one of, like, Rashawn Holmes, Bagley, and Hield, like, you had one of those 3 guys, but then, like, at other positions, you had, like, this is my guy here, this is my guy here, fine. But I have all 3 of them, and then,
yeah,
I don't like the team.
I don't either. It's just, there's just nothing special about it. I have them 24-48.
I have them 27-45, so slightly under.
Yeah, you're right about it.
Right about at the thing, yeah. But yeah, I don't. The team needs to do something.
Yeah, I'm not digging what they got going on. So. Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks over under 42.5. Am I out of order?
No, you're not. Apparently, I forgot to do the Dallas Mavericks, so I'm going to have to go off of what you have.
Okay. Over under 42.5 championship odds plus 1,800. Right off the bat, I'll say that plus 1,800's it's a little overzealous to me. The Heat made the finals, and they're plus 1,800 in the East.
Yeah.
So those championship odds are kind of surprising to me. They lose Seth Curry. That was like the big loss that I wrote down. Added Josh Richardson, Josh Green, and James Johnson. Yeah, I love the Jay Rich pickup.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think he's going to fit into that starting lineup nicely. Doncic, I think, is easily one of the top 5 players in the NBA already.
Yeah.
And knowing his work ethic and watching him since he was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
He's just going to keep getting better. He's a winner. And he is the reason for those championship odds.
Right.
I mean, he's an MVP candidate this year. But that being said, Porzingis is coming into the season unhealthy already.
Right.
And they really didn't do anything to shore up the front court. Dwight Powell should be back, I believe.
I think so.
And that'll help. Dwight Powell's pretty decent, but outside of that, you have Maxi Kleber, and then
That's yeah. So
it's
you got
weak.
like Kleber. So basically, Porzingis is your guy, and you got Kleber as the guy that comes in when Porzingis is hurt, but he sucks.
Yeah, Kleber's terrible.
So then you got who's your three there? Because they lost Delon Wright.
You still have Tim Hardaway. You have Josh Richardson.
Okay,
Um,
so you Josh Richardson, and you got Doncic, and they lost Seth Curry. Was Seth Curry there last
Seth
year?
Curry was there last year.
Yeah.
You still have Jalen Brunson off the bench. I mean,
Mhm.
you have essentially the same team. You lost Seth Curry, and you brought in some decent. I mean, Josh Green is a decent draft pick. James Johnson's going to give you some decent minutes. You still have is Harrison Barnes on this team?
No.
It's Tim Hardaway, Josh Richardson, Luca. Those are your starters, and then probably Dwight Powell and Porzingis, who's hurt. So
Right.
Kleber.
Right.
It's just you're another injury away from your season being completely done.
Right.
Porzingis, like, he just can't stay healthy.
Uh-uh.
I like this team. I have them 42 and 30. I have them directly at the over under. But I don't I'm not buying into championship hype.
No. I'm going to go 41 and 31 on Dallas here, so I got to write this down. But yeah, I think 41 and 31, so I'm right there with you on that. It's a team like that. They need to, like, I feel like that's a team that would have like a lot of, they would be better if they had like some like young like hunger guys like in the front court and shit
Why
like
didn't
that.
Whiteside go there? Why the
Or
fuck
something
is
like
Whiteside
that,
on
yeah.
the Kings? Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's just they needed to bring in more around.
I wouldn't
Luka.
have even
They
seen.
just didn't do enough.
I wouldn't even mind seeing like one of those guys we were just talking about there, like a Rashawn Holmes or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just to,
that's fine. Anything to shore that up a little bit. It's just, I mean, you already have Porzingis coming into the season hurt, and then it's just you're asking a lot out of a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, seriously.
And that's already knowing that he's a top 5 player. You're asking him to excel above that.
Did Porzingis rape that chick, or was it? Or did they?
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah. Was it?
Nah,
yeah.
No, COVID.
Yeah, no, there was this one thing, and COVID, you keep cops and black people, and yeah.
So the next team up is the Houston Rockets, over under 34.5, championship odds plus 4,000. Do you have the Rockets?
Dallas was the only team I missed. Yeah. Fine. Okay, here we go. All right, so they won 44 games last year. 44 and 28 is what they finished. So the unders 34.5. They added John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Christian Wood, Sterling Brown. They lost Covington, DeMar Carroll, Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Russell Westbrook. So a lot of turnover there, a lot of different names. And then plus if Harden leaves, which we're going to pretend that he's going to be here for this. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but we already have. But as of now, their starting lineup projected is Christian Wood starting at the 5, PJ Tucker at the 4, Eric Gordon at the 3, James Harden at the 2, and John Wall at the 1. So in that situation, they would be bringing. Who were we talking? They had somebody else.
Boogie off the bench.
They bring Boogie off the bench, and there's another. House too. They still have House. Yeah,
Clemens off the bench.
So
Gerald Green.
Shut up. I don't have Gerald Green.
Yes, I do. They do have Gerald Green. That's real.
God damn it. So I don't know. Looking at this team from like this way. Okay, so John Wall looked good in the preseason. And you're assuming, like, you can't just go into this and be like, well, this guy's going to get injured if it hasn't happened. So you just look at John Wall, like, you're going to assume that he might get you like 50 games or whatever. You're not going to say, like, oh, he's going to get hurt game one. As of now, you have Harden, who's the best scorer in the league. Eric Gordon, still a good 3-point shooter, can play off the ball. PJ Tucker with the fucking Iron Man, and Christian Wood has looked really good when he's had playing time. And you got Boogie too, and Boogie and Wall playing together. This team really doesn't look bad. I mean, I don't understand really why. I guess like new GM, new coach, new fucking players, and Westbrook gone and this and that. I guess I get like kind of a lot of turmoil there, but on paper, this team really doesn't look bad. What do you think about them?
So Steven Silas has taken over for D'Antoni, and I like that. I like
I do like that actually.
Steven Silas is a name that's been tossed around for a lot of coaching jobs, and he's I think he's the next big man up. I think he's going to be a really good coach. With D'Antoni, they plateaued as an organization, as D'Antoni tends to do. They played centerless basketball, which was retarded.
Yeah.
Harden and Westbrook didn't work any better together than they did when they were in OKC. I'm fine with the changes that are going on. So I wrote down handicapping the team is going to be obviously largely based around James Honeybun Harden.
Right.
Him coming, the things he's been saying, and him coming into preseason that fat.
Yeah.
He has no interest in playing for this basketball team.
No, I mean, even today, today, he said they asked him, like, because he showed up for practice or something, and they asked him, oh, are things, how you feeling, like, being in Houston now that you're back? And he's like, no comment.
If you want to play there, you're going to say you want to play there.
Yeah.
He wants out. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
So if Harden was to stay and commit to the organization, which I do not think is the case.
No.
They could be legitimate and make a little bit of noise.
Right.
I don't see anything saying that's the case. However, assuming you trade Harden, and with the way you've built the roster in the offseason, I think it's going to be a trade that involves bringing back some pieces. Right. If you even have Wall and Boogie at 75% of their former selves, and I think it's a perfect situation for the two of them because they were college teammates. They're best friends. They want to play together. They're going to strive to make this work. If you bring back some pieces, I don't see this being a shit-fest, blow-it-up team. With Harden even traded. So you're telling me that even if the star player goes, I still feel comfortable they're going to go over 34.5. I have them at 36 and 36. Okay. And I'm assuming Harden's gone.
Right.
I mean, if Harden stays, they're going to go over that.
Right.
So I like the over. It's not like a favorite play of mine, but banking on Wall, at least one of Wall or Cousins staying healthy.
Right.
I think it's very doable to go over 34.5.
This is actually one of my favorite plays, and I'll tell you why. I think the over-under is widely undervalued for this team because everybody knows that Harden wants out and he's going to get out. So I think that, and once they make the trade, whether it's you're getting Dinwiddie and LeVert or Ben Simmons or some variation of any of that stuff, Tyler Hero and a bunch of guys, I think that like these guys that you get, like you already have a pretty solid team there.
And you got a situation where somebody's shitting on you like that. Like, I mean, Harden basically came out. They asked him, do you want to stay now that you have John Wall and Boogie Cousins? And he basically like, no, that doesn't affect anything.
Right, they're going to just
took a huge shit on those guys.
They're going to be pissed, and this is like their season to have something to prove. Mm-hmm. So I have this team going 43 and 29 actually, wow. And I think it's well above the over. I think that the reason the over-under is there, it makes sense, is because you don't know what's going to happen with Harden. You don't know where he's going to go, what you're going to get back for him. But I think that that's a good reason to take the over because with the team that they've built right now, and then assuming that they're going to get, if they trade James Harden for 75 draft picks, then
Right.
no, they're not going to go over 34.5 probably.
Right.
But you're assuming that they're going to get some talent with that. These other guys, your Christian Wood would be fine, like filling in there, like coming in, he's going to be the starting center, and I think he's good. And you got Boogie, and you got John Wall, and you got Eric Gordon still. PJ Tucker, don't forget, like now he's moving back to power forward, so he's going to be more valuable, even more so than he has been. So yeah, I like this team. I like the over.
I agree.
For sure.
I went conservative on my
Mhm.
number only because of the injury situation with Wall and Cousins.
Right.
Being a little conservative, but I also really like the over.
Right.
Like I said, even that taken into consideration, just banking on maybe one of them, namely Boogie, is probably not going to make it through an entire season. And you're probably going to lose Harden, but I still feel good about the over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good play. Moving on, we got the Memphis Grizzlies. Over under is 30.5. Go ahead.
All right, so the Grizz they went 34-39 last year. They brought in Mario Hezonja, and they lost Josh Jackson and Anthony Tolliver. So they didn't do shit really.
Anthony, the treasurer.
The treasurer Tolliver,
Tolliver.
because if you didn't know, Anthony Tolliver is the treasurer / secretary of the NBA Players Association.
That's adorable.
It is. It's really cute. So they got Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson when he's healthy. For now, it's going to be Brandon Clark starting at the 4 most likely, who is a piece of shit, by the way. Don't. So you got Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson when he comes back, Kyle Anderson, Dillon Brooks, and John Morant. So this team has a couple of the players that like I absolutely hate the most. I hate Kyle Anderson. I hate Brandon Clark. I can't stand either one of them.
Yeah.
and like Brandon Clark, like I kind of just he's just so tentative. He's just so I just don't like watching him play, and I don't like, especially like taking fantasy. Forget about it. It sucks.
Prick.
So this team, so 34-39 last year. Over under is 30.5. I actually have them going over, but I have it at 31 and 41. I think they're going to be right around there, and that's only like Dillon Brooks is developing well. Morant, I mean, those guys are good. Jaren Jackson, like you have some. Val's a great, like a great guy to have at center. So they have some guys there. It's just whether this team needs to stay healthy, and this team, like especially like Jaren Jackson and those guys, and they need to just keep going with the chemistry. But they're not going to be a playoff team. Like I just don't see it at all.
Yeah, I have them at 32 and 40, so we're right around the same line. They're just entirely dependent on, and John Morant's going to be one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a few years, we were huge on him in college, like a lot of people were. But I mean, we watched him a lot, and it's very clear to see he's Russell Westbrook in the making.
The team's really similar to the Kings in that they're just completely relying on like Fox or Morant,
Yeah, but I think Morant is, as much as I think Fox is a good point guard, I think Morant is like a guy that could take a team to the playoffs on his own.
He might, yeah.
And I don't think Fox is.
He might, yeah.
I think Fox is like a really good player to have on a good team.
Right.
And put him over the top.
Right.
But I think Morant is an MVP in the making.
Right.
And I think Jaren Jackson's a really good player too. And I love the Valanciunas fit. I was a little dicey on it to start.
Yeah.
But he brought a nice physicality to that team and a veteran presence, and I liked it a lot.
Right.
Justice Winslow, if he ever friggin' plays, could be a decent addition to the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see a world where they're competing, but my main problem is it's so dependent on these young guys.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't put my money on it. So we both have them going over, but not a lot.
But yeah.
Next up, New Orleans Pelicans over under 36.5. Go ahead.
30 and 42 last year. So they added Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, and Kira Lewis. You lost Drew Holiday, Darius Miller, Jaleel Okafor, Derek Favors, Frank Jackson, Etwan Moore, and Conrick Williams. A lot of players.
Yeah, most of them are shit.
But yeah, I mean, some of those guys played. Those guys played minutes and stuff. But you added two guys that are going to start. So your starting lineup projected is Steven Adams, Zion, Ingram, Bledsoe, and Ball. You know, this team has a ton of potential, and we all know that. I think this team, and we know what Steven Adams is. We know what Steven Adams is going to bring you. I think we've all figured out that Zion is a star, and he's going to be a star, and he's not going to have the minutes restriction. And Zion's probably going to average like close to 30 points a game this year. You got Bledsoe for your defense, and yeah, okay, so Bledsoe doesn't play as many minutes, but now you got JJ and Josh Hart coming off the bench. Lonzo proved last year that he can play pretty well too. I think your big thing is Brandon Ingram. If Brandon Ingram could be a superstar in this league, I mean, this is absolutely a playoff team without a question. If Brandon Ingram is kind of your, okay, well, he's okay this game, oh, not really this game, but okay, like back and forth. This team might, they're still going to be okay, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team if that's the case. What do you think?
Okay, so you got Stan Van Gundy coming in, replacing Alvin Gentry. Alvin Gentry. And as much as I hate Alvin Gentry, well, as much as probably as much as I hate Stan Van Gundy,
I hate both of them. Yeah.
I probably like him more than Alvin Gentry.
Yeah.
Gentry was absolutely clueless on what to do.
He was one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, he just didn't want to put the young guys on the court,
Yeah.
and that's what the team was.
Yeah.
I get it. You got to protect him to some extent and shit. And Zion wasn't always in the best of shape, but you got to get those guys out there. You got to get them prepared, and that's the future of your franchise.
Yeah,
they're the guys that needed to be on the court. Ingram and Zion are both, at the very least, all-stars already right now.
Right.
Ingram's great. Zion's great. Zion, in particular, can be one of the top players in the league if he's healthy and in shape. So you bring in Adams over Favors and Bledsoe instead of Holiday. I think that about washes out. Yeah. I think Adams at this point is a better center than Favors.
Yeah.
Holiday better than Bledsoe. So that about washes. I really hate the over under. I went 35 and 37. I got the under. I feel like that number is really accurate.
Interesting. I have 37 and 35. So we're right there.
Yeah.
We're all.
It's just a really accurate over under.
It is.
When it comes down to it, I can't, in all good consciousness, put my faith in Stan Van Gundy to be the thing that pushes this team over the top.
No.
So I don't like the over-under. I wouldn't bet it.
I wouldn't touch that over.
I really hope this team makes the next step.
Me too.
I love Lonzo. I love Ingram. I love Zion. I love this young team.
Yeah.
I want JJ Redick to be in the playoffs. I want all of that. I think Zion's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But it's just with Stan Van Gundy and the age of this team,
right?
I can't put my hopes on it. So
right.
Seems like we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. Right around that over-under there.
San Antonio Spurs, over-under 29.5. The last team.
Yeah, that is the last team. 32 and 39 last year. They picked up Vassell in the draft. Trey Jones as well. And they got Bates Chop in free agency. They lost Bellinelli and Forbes.
It's so weird that they don't have Bellinelli or fucking... Why am I blanking on Ginobili?
Oh yeah,
like they don't have that. This fucking Italian.
They'll get Bellinelli back, I'm sure. So they're planning on starting Pirtle at the 5, Aldridge at the 4, DeRozan at the 3, Derek White when he comes back at the 2 for now will be Lonnie Walker, and then Dejounte Murray at the 1. So this team's clearly on the downslide. like you have some guards in there, but I mean, Aldridge is at the end of his career. DeRozan never really panned out to be a superstar. Pirtle's just a fill-in guy. Like you have promise with the guards, but overall this team's not that good. I like the Vassell and Trey Jones picks. Like I like both of them a lot, and they were drafted in good positions. It's just like guards are your only good positions on this team, really. And now you drafted
Vassell could
guards.
stretch out to a 3.
Yeah, I guess he could play the 3, but then like you have
The Trey
DeRozan for
Jones
threes.
pick was a little confusing. For me.
Yeah. But yeah, so 29 and a half was the over under. I haven't won in 26 games, 26 and 46. What do you have with them?
So you got the 2 aging stars, DeRozan and Aldridge, if you want to call them stars. Rudy Gay also back. He was healthy and productive last year.
Right.
Cool. Lonnie Walker, Deontay Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Pertl. They all seem to develop all right. I thought Jakob Pertl looked. He's not a great starting center in the league. He looked all right.
Right.
Looked like they developed a little bit under Coach Pop. I like Vassell a lot. Vassell was one of my my favorite picks for the draft.
Yeah.
This team's not. It's just not good.
Nah.
I mean, I don't expect them to be very good. I think Pop's kind of on the verge of being mentally checked out of basketball.
I think he's about. This might be his last year. I think.
I agree. Like how much patience does he have for these teams? So
yeah,
I have him 31 and 41, and that is a courtesy, a respect to Pop.
Yeah,
I can't I can't feel comfortable picking Popovich to win less than 29 or less than 29 games.
Right.
So it's like I would not bet this over.
No.
If in all honesty, probably the under, but it's really tough to give that, and especially like Lonnie Walker, all those young guys have really showed flashes.
Like they're not bad. It's just they don't.
It's just a log jam there.
Yeah.
That's why the Trey Jones, even though I like the pick, it's confusing.
Right.
And you still have Patty Mills in that mix. So it's like a really weird built team. I just think Pop's on his way out, but I can't pick him to win less than 29 games.
Yeah.
So
right there, I mean, we're just kind of like just right around that 29 and a half.
Just respect for Pop. You know, if any other coach was coaching that team, that'd be an easy over under.
Oh yeah.
And it's a pretty bad roster.
Right.
That about does it. So from now on, our picks will be all gambling picks for each day. Super fucking excited to actually get to pick NBA games every day. I'm glad we're starting back up. So
yeah, just getting NBA games going, getting some like values in fantasy and some of those, some of that shit going.
You'll see videos from both of our fat asses sitting right here. You'll see some videos with just whichever one of us wants to pop on and talk some shit about what they're doing that day. So we live together, but we're not attached dick to butt. So sometimes there'll only be one of us.
Right.
We're gonna be learning this site as much as we can. So try to get better as time goes and try to make you some fucking money. All right. See you next time.